As consumers, we are bombarded by it at every turn, like the Incredible Hulk being bombarded by gamma rays. But what makes some media endure, while others are banished to the forgotten black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again? Who or what decides this? Hetero life mates Steve and Yahel want to know, and they want to know now. This is Obscurity Now. And what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Obscurity Now, the show where we take a look at weird and nearly forgotten pieces of media, and then we decide if it should be remembered for all of human history or tossed into the black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again. I am one of the hosts, Steve, and with me is the only man who successfully surfed all the way from Puerto Rico to Tampa. It's
Yahel. That's what I'm known for, Steve, as the great Puerto Rican surfer. They're gonna do like a comic book that ties in with Silver Surfer. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be
a crossover.
It's
Man,
gonna be
I would be so jealous if you got to cross over with the Silver Surfer before I did, because he's like one of my favorite characters. But
yeah, I like how it's an inevitability in your mind that you're gonna cross over with him. Because you're like, before I get to do it.
It's gonna happen. You wait.
All right.
So before we get started, well, first off, this is like, I don't know, part 3 or 4 in beach or ocean related episodes. Check out our previous episode, which was about the Thunder in Paradise interactive CD-ROM. And before that, we had the Baywatch parody, Son of the Beach. And before that, we had the Baywatch spinoff, Baywatch Nights, which is quite...
We had the other Baywatch parody, Baywatch Nights.
Yeah, everything... Wait, it's not a parody, man. It's just the greatest show ever made.
I know it's not a parody. Oh, dude, I told you, I've been watching Baywatch Nights.
Heck yeah. I've been thinking about it. I just haven't gotten around to doing it. Taking the theme and making it my ringtone. Like, how awesome would that be?
Yeah. Well, you just have to know that if you do start watching it, your nights will never be the same.
Ah, well done. Well played. But I never even bothered to ask you on those previous episodes, are you a beach guy? What do you think about the beach?
I'm not a fan of the beach.
I think
personally.
I remember you not being a fan.
Yeah, sand everywhere. I don't like sweating.
Yeah.
Nothing to do.
Right, yeah. I'm kind of with you on that. Like, if I would really have to be in the right mindset, like maybe get a audio book or an awesome podcast like Obscurity Now, just lay down and just binge it for a couple of hours until all the episodes are done. But yeah, it's a lot more fun to talk about the beach than actually go. Although I do actually enjoy body surfing, which isn't nearly as cool as regular surfing. But if there's waves around, I'll get down. And hopefully...
Wow. You're a real California man.
This was before California.
No, but in your heart, Steve.
Ooh, don't say that. For better or worse, I'm a Southerner. I know. Oh yeah, well, what's in your heart, Yahel, besides blackness?
Just the waves. That's my home.
Nicely said. So yes, in continuation with our nautical or ocean or beach theme, today we are talking about the cult film from Troma known as Surf Nazis Must Die. Before we talk about the film, what is your experience with the movie studio? And I use the term
I knew you were gonna
lightly. Troma.
I mean, I've seen like a couple things from Troma. I'm not like the biggest. I appreciate what they've done. I think everyone's seen The Toxic Avenger.
Sure.
I think it's like
great movie,
the most common one. But yeah, I'm not. Well, before today, my opinion of Troma may have changed after today. After watching this movie. I've seen some. I've seen some of their films. I believe, though, however, you have a deeper, more
Deep?
intimate, sensual relationship
Yes, I
with
would
Troma.
describe it as deep and sensual. I would say it's probably not as deep as it used to be, but definitely in the 90s, I was all in on Troma because I don't know, that's like a lot of people's entry level into the business and indie film because they'll take anyone. You just like show up on their doorstep and you're like, "Hey, I'll work for free." And I always had this, I don't know, sort of like fantasy or pipe dream, whatever you want to call it, of
Hmm.
either I mean because they used to have studios in both LA and New York. Now they only have the New York one, but it's like I just thought I would one day I would drive up and I'd say, Lloyd Kaufman, who was the head of Troma Studios, who I've
Right.
met several times. I'm like, put me to work. I'll do whatever you say. Um,
Um, I do want to say we do have not Stika. I'm sorry,
Stadium
Stadium Arts, aka
Arts.
Stry, in the chat again. Thanks for joining.
Welcome, Stry. Wearing his shoulder pads, I bet.
Yes, yes.
Um, and yeah, so yeah, I really got into the movies when I was younger. When I go back and watch some of them now, they don't really hold up. But I think, did you know that everyone's favorite superhero director, James Gunn, he got his start in the Troma world? Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, Tromeo and
Yeah.
Juliet, which is actually a pretty
Oh,
fun
I think I've
movie.
seen that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think I've seen
I'd
that
say
one.
that's one of the better ones, along with Toxic Avenger, and Class of Nukem High. You ever see that one?
Yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, let's talk about Serve Nazis Must Die. Have up until the recording of this episode, had you ever seen it or heard of it before?
I'd certainly heard of it. I've never seen it. I knew it was like a cult film.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I knew nothing about it. I never even heard anyone's opinion on it actually, which was cool. No, like it was good because I didn't go in like with any preconceived notions, but I came out with some notions.
A notion in the ocean. I certainly
I
hope
think
so.
I can't imagine someone watching this movie and not having a strong opinion one way or the other.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's run the bumper, and when we come back, we will talk about Surf Nazis Must Die.
Welcome to your feature presentation.
All right, so Surf Nazis Must Die was released June 3rd, 1987. I certainly didn't watch it at the age of 6 or 5 or whatever it was.
Yeah, I hope not.
No, I was busy watching RoboCop and Total Recall. Um, and yeah, so obviously you hadn't. So we'll
Right?
just dive on in the synopsis here. When the son of a gun wielding woman is murdered by neo Nazi surf punks in the post apocalyptic future, his mama hunts them down for some bloodthirsty revenge. I'd say that's a pretty decent synopsis. Although it does sound like she was already a gun wielding woman, like prior to her son's death.
Yeah, she seemed to have some experience with weapons.
Yeah, right. So anyway, this is going to be a pretty quick IMDb because a lot of these people never worked again. The
Yep.
director, Peter George, he actually worked on a few episodes of Acapulco Heat. If anyone remembers that show,
I remember that. Wow, maybe we should cover that.
yeah,
Holy
maybe.
shit.
And then something else called Young Goodman Brown, and then the writer, John Eyre. According to IMDb, this is his only credit ever. And of course, this was also based on the story by the director, previously mentioned Peter George. And of
Yeah.
course, this was produced and released by Troma. So, on with the cast then.
So the cast also mostly worked never again or very little. So the one person who did get quite a bit of work is Gail Neely, who plays Mama Washington. She was in she kind of from looking at some of the roles that she played and the way that they're described, it sounds like she kind of always plays like a sassy
Right.
older lady.
Right, right.
So it's kind of like what she was typecast at, but she was acting up until 1997. She was in an episode of something called C-16, FBI C-16. Never heard of it. But she was in the Wayne Brothers, Naked Gun 2.5, LA Law. So she's got like 19 credits, which is far more than almost everybody else on here. Her son is played by Robert Hardin. Leroy, he is the person that gets murdered. He had a... It's weird because this guy like would not act. He would act and then not act for like 8 years, then not act, then act again like 8 years later. Like basically, he did a film in 1987, two films, including Surf Nazis Must Die. Then 1989, 1990, took an 8-year break.
Wow.
And then he starred like in a movie in 98, in 2013, and then 2019 he was in something.
Wow.
So yeah, all over the
It's
place.
a tough
Very
business.
strange.
What can we say?
Yeah. Anyways, Barry Brenner plays Adolf. Yes, you read that right. There's a character called Adolf. It's not his character's real name. It's what he has come to refer to himself as, because he is the Führer of the beach.
New beach. Yep.
The new beach, as he likes to say. He was in 4 things, and 2 of those movies are Maniac Cop and Maniac Cop 2, and I believe those are also Troma movies, maybe?
I don't think so, but they probably could be. I think Bruce Campbell is in one of those, if I'm not mistaken.
Bruce Campbell is in one, so it can't. You're right. He's a Maniac Cop, so he can't be. It can't be a Troma movie because they can't afford him.
Not even back then, baby.
Dawn Wildsmith, excuse me. She plays Eve. She's kind of Hitler's Adolf's
Or Ava,
girlfriend.
as in Ava Braun.
Ava, thank you.
Yeah.
And she's still acting. She's got a movie coming out called The Third Channel. Looks like it's just like a low budget. All her stuff is just like low budget.
Yeah, she's
stuff.
a big time scream queen, more or less.
Yeah. And besides that, I mean, I almost don't even want to go over these guys. So we got Hook, who has a hook for an arm. He is played by Joel Hiley.
And dresses like Alex from A Clockwork Orange for some reason.
Yes. There's a character called Mengele, Ava, Adolf, and Mengele, I think those are all, I mean, Adolf, obviously, member of the Nazi Party, bit of a prominent one, that Adolf one. But I believe Mengele is also like a prominent member of the Nazi Party. Then there's a guy that plays Smeg. That's played by Tom Shell. He's just one of the surf Nazis. The only other person that I thought was kind of notable was Smeg's mother, Bobby Grease, because she's also kind of like a scream queen, or was for a little bit.
Right.
But you will recognize these people from nothing unless you're a big fan of Star Slammer. What was your favorite scene in Star Slammer?
The one where they took the star and slammed it.
Yep.
Slammed it on the ground, bro.
Yeah, a lot of her roles are described as, like, her characters will be described as sexy woman,
right,
blonde woman,
right,
tall, buxom woman.
Characters that actually share her first name. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. But just to give a little bit more context, this came out, like you said, in 1987, June 3rd. The number one film that weekend, surprisingly, it was not Surf Nazis Must Die. I know that's a shocker. Maybe it was number 2. I didn't look at the numbers. Don't think I need to. It was Beverly Hills Cop 2 was a top film.
Nice.
And Beverly Hills Cops 2 ended up being the top grossing film of all of 1987.
Wow.
The number one song was a U2 song. You care to take a guess?
In the Name of Love?
Not a bad guess, but With or Without You.
Oh, man, that's okay. Sure.
That's a song. So, yeah, should we get into this?
Yes, absolutely. So, the movie begins, and we start out with, I mean, they're basically revealed to be the Nazi youth. It's a bunch of surfer kids sitting around with swastikas painted on their cheeks, like they just got back from like a birthday party and asked for something really offensive. And that's the thing with this movie. If you're easily offended, you might be. I mean, it's a pretty dumb movie. I mean, it's just a dumb B movie. So there's really nothing to be offended about, but whatever. Just a word of warning.
I don't think the movie is like offensive,
right,
per se.
Right. There's just a few offensive words that are uttered here and there. Yeah.
And the bad guys get their comeuppance.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not like offensive necessarily. Just it doesn't come off like, we're a bunch of racists making this movie. Right. Well,
definitely not.
Sorry, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, so basically, we hear the voice of who's later revealed to be Adolf, and he's like kind of giving them tips on and asking them questions on like surfing. He asks who rules the beaches, and the kids all yell surfers, and they go, who rules the surfers? Surf Nazis. And then we get the logo, which I think is a pretty badass like 80s style logo if you're into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And also, one of the things that always attracted to me about this movie is the soundtrack, which is just really awesome electronic synthesizer for the most part.
It's funny that the soundtrack, I think people would find it like almost modern because it's very synth wavy at times.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it fits really nicely with a lot of the surf footage that we're going to see, which it's clear that's where they like sunk their money into the surf footage. But anyway, we'll get to that coming up soon. Then we get some stock footage of a fire. And there's a newscast that says there was this massive earthquake that hit LA. And I mean, basically, they just have to say that for some reason, because when you see LA, it just looks like regular old LA. But anyway,
what was the point of the earth? Like, I've got some issues with this film.
The only time it's like brought into the plot is when the guy from the Pipeliners is he's like, the quake changed all that. Like that the earthquake somehow changed all the areas where people are allowed to surf, and so now the surf Nazis feel like that's the time to take over or something. But
yeah, because there's like different gangs,
and they have,
in this film.
Yeah, we'll get to them soon.
They're all very like horrible stereotypes.
Oh, they're so good though, so good bad.
I guess like, but it was so unnecessary because this movie appears to kind of like make it seem at times like, oh, LA, this is some kind of post-apocalyptic future, right?
In fact, I think it comes up on the screen after the Surf Nazis logo. It says sometime in the near future.
Right.
I feel like maybe they felt a need to add that stuff just so, you know, nobody took the film seriously or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't get it because like, okay, it wasn't like that post-apocalyptic, like when we have the scene at Smeg's house.
Oh yeah, it's
like,
a regular house.
It's just a very regular, suburban house. Looks nice. The mom isn't like dressed like we're in some kind of post-apocalyptic future. She's dressed normally. And he even says like to her, hey, can I have a few bucks? So like money's still a thing. So
yeah. I don't know really. It seems like something they added like after the fact or something.
Yeah.
But
anyways, go ahead and continue.
Sure.
I don't mean to. I know there's a lot of plot to cover.
Yeah. So Smeg and Ava speed through a tunnel on a motorcycle. Then they arrive at the Surf Nazi lair, which they refer to as the bunker. And it's basically a tunnel with a bunch of graffiti on the walls. And as you might imagine, there's swastikas galore. And then we are in, and there's a lot of scenes of just stuff happening with no dialogue. So all that stuff that we just talked about, I mean, aside from that news footage, there's like, just stuff was just happening. They were just riding a bike.
Did you notice that the swastikas are very inconsistent in this movie? Like sometimes they're facing the wrong way sometimes.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure like, I know the director used his own van for the van that they
swastikas on his own van.
Right. He said he got pulled over. But I imagine he was the art department and the director. So there was probably a few inconsistencies here and there.
It's not that hard, boys, to find out which way to make the swastika. Because if I'm not mistaken, like a swastika flipped the opposite way of the way the Nazis used it. Isn't that like a religious?
Yeah, it means like good luck or something.
Like peace or
yeah. It's actually a positive thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, we see who ends up being our main protagonist later, Eleanor, getting placed in a retirement home. Then we are back with the Surf Nazis, specifically Mangala. He is taking a blowtorch to a hook. Then he gives it to Hook, and he tries out his new hook. Then we are back with Eleanor. She's placing a Bible on her nightstand and putting up an American flag. She's moving into her new home in the retirement home. Oh, and then we get the sometime in the near future. A car pulls up next to it's like an oil refinery, and Mr. Washington, who is Eleanor's son, exits, and he asks the guard what's going on with the trouble he's heard about going down at the beach. And the guard says it's one of those gangs, probably the surf Nazis. So like, I think, at least as far as like an opening sequence, the editing is actually pretty strong. Like, what do you think about all the stuff that's going on up until this point?
Up until this point, it was fine. I'm laughing because I think the editing in this movie is terrible.
Well, it gets terrible. However,
it's not so bad in the beginning. Like it wasn't distracting me or anything in the beginning. So yeah, it's competent for sure. Like up to this point,
right?
But we're only like 7 minutes into it.
Right. So a van pulls up next to Adolf, who's just hanging out. They open the van and bring out some surfboards. Mangala says they had a great haul. Adolf asks if they've got any money. Mangala says no, but they can, sell it and get money later. This is basically the start of a running theme with the surf Nazis. They are constantly arguing with one another. One of the other surf Nazis, Brutus, tries out a harpoon gun. Adolf and the rest of the gang head to the beach, and then we get what I feel like is some pretty awesome surf footage for a movie that probably was pretty low budget, I'd say. And so they're surfing, and basically the rest of the gang looks on, and then we see Eleanor's son, Mr. Washington, looking on from the oil refinery in the background as the surf Nazis surf around. What did you think of the surf footage?
Yeah, it was pretty well shot. In fact, at first I thought it was like stock footage. But then, I saw like they had the swastikas like on the wetsuits.
Yeah,
like
and the wetsuits.
So
and it's the actual actors. So, say what you will about the performances in this movie. I mean, they had to get real surfers first, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, the footage is it's well shot. It's weird though. Like there's like there was both more surf footage than I expected to see and less at the same time. Like I don't know how to describe it. Like just not a lot of things like happen while there's. I thought there were gonna be like a bunch of like surf fights or something.
Well, they had them.
There's one.
Yeah, I mean it's all they could afford, man.
But and when we say one, I mean one surfboard runs into another one time.
Right. I mean, but imagine how hard it was to pull that off. I mean, I can imagine it was pretty tough. All right.
Human Hyperbole in the chat. Thank you for being here. He or she wrote, Adolf and the gang head to the beach. Still sounds wrong going into my ear holes. It sounds like the name of an episode of Sunny. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh yeah. Or like some weird kids show. Adolf and the gang. Yeah. They're always solving mysteries and getting into trouble. So now we're back with Eleanor again. The nurse gives her some playing cards and tells her not to gamble. So, of course, the very next scene is her gambling with some elderly ladies. And then they're sort of building up the mystique of the beach. One says that she got her purse stolen by one of those no-good beach gangs. And do the surf Nazis and the gangs, does it remind you of another movie that features a lot of gangs that came out?
Like The Warriors?
Ah, bingo. That's it.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Half-price Warriors. So, what's up?
Human Hyperbole wrote, Adolf and the gang join an MLM, Sunny theme plays.
Oh, nice. So cut to nighttime, and Adolf gives a big speech saying he's the new Fuhrer of the beach. And they're going to hold a big meeting with the other beach gangs, which is ripped off straight from the Warriors. Smeg burns a comic for warmth, and that just tears me up inside, but whatever, it happened. They say they're going to take out the other gangs, then they all laugh evilly or maniacally about it. And now, cut to day, the gang is getting ready again. There's a lot of,
there's a lot of like shots of them just like doing random shit.
Right. Like, in some ways, I think it's kind of good to build up atmosphere, but in another way, it's like it's obvious they probably shot the surfing scenes first and then built a movie around it. I would imagine.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like the scenes with dialogue, because I'll just be. I feel like this has almost no plot. This movie.
Well, it has a basic plot. It has no story.
Maybe that's a better way to put it. Yeah. So like the scenes that there's dialogue in, they almost feel like they could be like standalone scenes. Like sometimes they don't really have anything to do with
absolutely.
And it almost seems like people would be like, "Hey, wouldn't this be a cool scene to do?" And like they just kind of like mishmashed it into like a film.
Right.
So yeah, it's really weird. And like the main story of the mom wanting to avenge her son's death, because her son doesn't get killed till like I feel like the third act of the movie almost.
Right. Yeah. Again, the director said that the film was originally just going to be titled Surf Nazis, and it was mostly just going to be about them. But then like the distributors were like, you can't release a film and just call it Surf Nazis. So that's when they added the must die part onto it.
See.
So yeah, I mean, it was clear that they wrote this around the surf Nazis because they're the ones who get most of the screen time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, they're all getting ready, and now all the beach gangs start arriving, and and they're so funny. They all dress alike, and let's see,
like each gang dresses alike. You mean like so each gang has their own look. Like there's like an Asian gang that's like very like
the samurai surfers. Yep.
Yeah. If anything, I would say the stuff with the Asian gang is somehow more offensive than the Nazi stuff. Like, right?
Right. It's because they did that and didn't even realize they were being like racist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the other stuff, they knew it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I would say if anything, like that made me go, it was more them than anything. 'Cause I was like, because they're supposed to be Japanese, I think.
Right.
But they did a shot of them like going under like this like thing that's like Chinese architecture. Like, and it's like you guys don't even fucking know.
That was an awesome shot, though. Like,
it's a cool shot.
I will say, but it doesn't make sense because of their heritage. I get what you're saying. The cinematography is not bad in this movie. It's like
sometimes.
It's like as long as there's no dialogue being said, it's like they at least experimented a bit and did some interesting shots where they could have just been, bland and milquetoast about the entire film.
But I do feel like there's too many scenes, kind of going back to what you were saying, where they were like have these like shots where they're like trying to build atmosphere or whatever.
Right.
There's too many shots like that with like people just doing stuff.
They're padding the running time, man. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
this is about a 45-minute script stretched into an hour and 23 minutes.
Oh, absolutely. So just to run down the other surfing gangs, it's like, as we said, there's the samurai surfers. They're a bunch of Asians, and then originally I was calling them the Zach Morris surfers, but they're actually called the designer wave. That's what they're called, the designer wave. And then there's the pipeliners, who I guess aren't as good looking as the designer wave, and they have like just a slightly different sort of like neon wetsuit that they wear. And that is the extent of the many, many gangs that roam around Power Beach. So yeah, anyway, they all start showing up, and then they're like, where's Adolf? And they're like, well, he'll be along directly. And then I guess they wanted to make like a dramatic entrance, so they just lower him by forklift. Like they couldn't just look and see him being lowered. It's pretty funny.
Right. Well, forklifts are very quiet too. So.
Absolutely. So Adolf tells the gangs they need to work together. Once again, this is straight out of the Warriors. The guy from one of the gangs, in a very over-the-top performance, says, "No, Adolf! You couldn't handle the power." And then Adolf, he like does something threatening, and then he goes, "Any more heroes?" And then that's basically
a surf Nazi guy is like up on the like a higher level of the room, and he's got a gun and he like shoots it like in the air. So he's got like a
Oh, well,
something.
he had the high ground.
Yeah. So he shoots it, and then that's when, and he doesn't hit anybody he doesn't shoot at anybody, but then that's when Adolf is like, anybody other heroes?
Right. And so cut to the same Nazi youth from the beginning, or they're having a book burning as well as a boombox burning. Although you never see them set the boombox on fire. They couldn't afford to do that.
No.
And then cut to a biker bar. Like, this is one of those scenes that probably didn't need to be
There's
in
another
there.
one of the gangs.
Yeah,
I guess
that's true.
They're not at the beach.
Yeah,
But they're not at the beach.
Right, I forgot. There's also the skateboarders who are known as the I forget. I have it written down here later on. Yeah, there's a biker gang, and then there's skateboarders they all make up the rich tapestry of the gangs.
The skateboarders have like a really weird name, like the Earth Riders.
Yeah, Riders of the Hard Wave. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Which they do have. There is some fun lines in this. It's usually delivered so poorly that it doesn't land. I mean, would you agree with that statement?
No.
All right. Well, I think I know which way he's voting.
There's one piece of dialogue I liked at the end, and that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, you can deliver it when we get there. Well, all right. Coming up, I think this is kind of a fun line when I don't know, this bar skank tries to steal the money from this biker guy, and then his girlfriend stops her. Then Ava shows up to collect the money, and the biker's like, "Oh, your boy Adolf's got you trained real well." And she's like, "Yeah, I'm his personal bitch." And then she follows it up with some stuff that I probably shouldn't say, but
yeah.
But anyway, so now we're back at the beach again. Adolf spies the samurai surfers surfing on their turf. So they go and rough them up. And this was a part that was... Okay, so Hook and Mangala are fighting the samurai surfers. And then Adolf shows up, and the samurai surfers just sort of give up. Because I guess the idea is that they're supposed to be afraid of Adolf. Like, that guy's so small.
I was so confused by that too. Is it because Adolf is the leader now of all these gangs? Like they all kind of acquiesce to it?
I think that's what they were trying to deliver. But yeah, I mean,
but it's like at this point the editing is like real shit too.
Yeah, for the fight scenes, it's pretty bad. Yeah.
I mean, just in general, like the movie becomes very difficult. The few times that they do like have some story going, that's actually interconnected and flowing throughout the movie. The editing is so shit that like it becomes kind of difficult to follow and even know like what's going on. Like you said, I was confused too. Like, why did they stop fighting? I did think it was funny. I gotta admit that they're fighting the samurai gang, the samurai surfers, and like they have like one of them has like nunchucks.
Yeah.
And the one has like a side. They like where did they get these weapons? Because they just had bodysuits on and they were just literally just surfing. So it's like where did they have these tucked in at? And yeah.
Nice.
So that was
yeah, just
funny, I guess.
But that's what you would in this movie, in this world, you would expect them to have those weapons one way or another. I mean, not making excuses for the script, but yeah. So yeah, that fight ends. Then Smeg watches Adolf and Ava make out. The samurai surfers walk away.
Excuse me, they have sex.
Fine.
They don't just make out.
Sure, they have rough Nazi sex. There you go. And now cut to Eleanor and her son. He says he's going to go swimming. Back at the beach, a Nazi youth tries to steal a purse from a random old lady. Eleanor's son Leroy foils it. Then Adolf shows up. He antagonizes Leroy, and so Leroy grabs him like this and puts him on the ground. And this scene I think is actually kind of cool because Adolf sort of like looks back and his mirrored sunglasses reflect Hook and Mangala, and they just sort of look at him like they're gonna mess him up. And then the immediate next scene is Eleanor walking into the corner to identify Leroy's body, which I mean, it's kind of lame that they skipped like the fight basically, But at the same time, I think the way that they edited it and set it up was pretty decent. What are your thoughts?
I thought the editing here was terrible, Steve. Because it's like Leroy stops, like the Nazi, one of the little Nazi kids from stealing that lady's purse. Then Adolf shows up and like they get into an argument. Adolf has some real weird line about how, oh, you look like a white man I used to know. And then, but then you fell down a chimney because Leroy's black.
Right.
Ha ha ha.
Right.
Now, it is the bad guy saying this.
Sure.
And they do, like I said, they do get their comeuppance. So eventually, but it's funny too because like up until now we haven't really seen anything racist from the surf Nazis.
Right, that's true.
And outside of like them calling Leroy using the N-word like maybe like a couple times, they never really do anything else that's like racist or something or anything else that you would traditionally associate with Nazis. So I don't know why they're the surf Nazis, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. But
I'll tell you.
To your
Do you
point.
want to know? I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Again, this is from an interview with the director. The way he came up with this entire world or this beautiful script that I can tell you love so much is that he was going surfing out in LA, and there were actually like dudes who were around like telling him to like move along, that's their area. So they were literally surf Nazis. And so the rest is history, baby. The franchise was off the
like,
ground.
I can make a movie around this.
Yeah,
but yeah, the death scene with Leroy, I thought it was terrible. Like he and Adolf get into a terrible scuffle. Like it looks like crap. All the fights in this movie look like shit.
Sure.
And then like Hook shows up, and then Leroy's looking at Hook. Yeah, and like he's like looking at them, but then they like cut to like a scene of like his mom already like walking down a hallway, and like and then you see Leroy like in different shorts running towards the beach.
No,
he's wearing completely different shorts.
Running towards the beach.
Yes, because he's running towards the water. Yes, they like showed like because he shows up first in the tiniest little like shorts you've ever seen in your life. These
I remember those. Yeah, too well.
And then he's like running away, but like or like running towards the water, like in long green shorts. But then they cut back to him like still over Adolf looking at something. I don't know, man. Like I was just like, what the hell? I didn't know he had been. I figured they were gonna kill him, but I didn't know he had been killed until we finally saw the mom. Saying yes, that's my son's body or whatever.
Right. And then and it's funny that you told me that Eleanor is still working because she doesn't do a good job pining over her son. Now, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt and say that, they probably only got a few takes. But remember when you used to make fun of Dusty Rhodes? When you would say, my son.
Oh yeah, my son.
That's what this reminded me of. She would just go, oh, he's all I had, Lord. And there's like no tears. They didn't even give her fake tears because they probably couldn't afford them. And yeah, I just remember that
this movie doesn't have a budget for any moisture.
Right.
Mind you, it's a surfing movie.
Yeah. Salty tears straight from the ocean.
Yeah. But the lady that plays Eleanor she's probably one of the better actresses in the film, but except for like this whole like scene where she's like crying over her son. She does like you said, not a good job.
Right. So yeah, she can't even give. All right. So cut to beach at night. The Nazis are having a little barbecue. Brutus and Mengele argue among themselves. Then there's a huge wide shot. I always really liked this scene just because it was different. Like Adolf approaches Mengele, who's way off in the background, again working on his little, some weapons or something. Basically, Mengele is like their weapons builder or sort of like tech guy, if you will. And he goes, Mengele, I want to talk to you. It's pretty hilarious. And then he walks all the way back to the background, and they have like a conversation in this giant wide shot. So and then Mengele basically calls him, and this is like a sort of running theme throughout the Surf Nazis. He says that he's pussy whipped. Eleanor and then that's basically the end of the scene. Eleanor talks to her friends and says that, again, Leroy was all she had left. And this is one of those scenes where when you first end up in it, you have no idea why you're there or what's going on. And that is the scene with Smeg at home talking to his mom. Like, did you felt
just having a normal, like, felt like a normal family thing, except that she's like, I talked to a therapist about how to deal with your neo-Nazi crap.
Right. Yeah. And like, even after watching it here in 2022, I'm just like, why, other than to pad the runtime, why is this scene even here? I mean, and she's a good actress too. Like they should have used her in more stuff. But whatever. Maybe she was only available for a day or something. I mean, what did she have going on, Steve? What else? I mean,
she's like, I gotta film the sequel to Star Slammer. Gotta start tomorrow.
Yeah. She was busy compared to the rest of the cast. How about that?
Yeah.
But anyway,
yeah, probably.
What would you wager the reason for this whole scene is?
Pad the runtime, or maybe somebody knew her and wanted to just get her in the movie as a favor or something. Get her a payday.
So nothing that pertains to the story or script.
No, I mean we do come back to the house later when Smeg is like writing a letter to
right.
I almost called him Alfredo.
to Alfredo Hitler.
He looks like he'd be named Alfredo, though.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
But like, I mean, completely pointless. Completely pointless.
Right. So anyway, Smeg is at home. I mean, I would wager that maybe it's, and I don't even think they were thinking this deep on it, just to show she's like a regular person, and it's just showing how ridiculous all the surf Nazi crap is. Like maybe. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, he has to borrow money from his mom, and then that's basically it. Adolf then shakes down a pawn shop owner for money. Yeah, there's a lot of them shaking down random people for money and goods. At the beach, Smeg is trying to impress some girls, and Leroy's mom just happens to be standing above them over some sort of like bridge or overpass.
Yeah, like Smeg is bragging about how they killed Leroy.
Right. So, and yeah, this is definitely like, I mean, I can see why this is the only script like that the writer ever wrote, because like Eleanor didn't even have to like do any work to like find out who killed her her son. She just had to be in the right place at the right time, and it was just dumb luck.
Yeah. We do get a scene with the before this with her Eleanor at the same pawn shop that Adolf had like gone to shake down, and she like buys like or is that after?
It's later.
Actually?
It's later.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll be quiet.
So yeah, then we get and then I kind of like when Leroy's mom grabs him and shoves him up against that like wall, and then they play that music like. Just, I don't know, weird things like that just stick with me all these years. Adolf, and then there's more surfing footage. So Adolf finishes...
Yeah, awful pacing.
It is awful pacing, yes.
Because, like, here you would think, okay, things are... Like, once they kill Leroy, I'm like, oh, okay, things are going to pick up now. Like, the mom is, like, talking to her friends about whatever, and she's going to end up wanting to get her revenge.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, like, this movie's finally going to, like, pick up. But then, like, they'd stick in like some fucking surfing footage that goes on for like way too long, and it just like completely like breaks the pace.
Yeah.
And
but the surfing footage is all like that, and the soundtrack is all this movie has for the most part.
but at this point, like you it's already like over halfway through the movie.
It should be happening in the third act. Like that surfing scene, they could have moved it up in the chronology, if you will. Yeah, like it's just as you said, not well paced or even in a decent sequence. But anyway, so Adolf and Mengele. Here's what happens. All right, after they get done surfing, Adolf finishes and joins Ava to discover that all their boards have been set on fire. I mean, at least there was a purpose this time for the surf footage. Right. And so Adolf and Mengele argue again. Adolf says, he's had it. Tomorrow we strike. And for some reason they go and they don't show them doing this, but we see footage of a fisherman who's hanging upside down from a pier. They just got mad at some random fisherman for, I guess,
killed them
or
attacked
for fishing on their, patch of water, and hung them upside down.
Yeah, these are our fish. These are Nazi fish.
Right. And then there's like a hippie surfer. Mengele says that, per Adolf, no one surfs here but the surf Nazis. And the hippie's like, I don't know any Adolf. And then Mengele grabs him and bites his neck. Oh, you say the fight scenes suck. One of the things that definitely adds to their suckiness is a complete lack of blood. And, because they obviously didn't have the time or the money.
These people are working lighter than like 80s wrestlers on WWF Superstars. Like they are like afraid to like touch each other, to hurt each other.
Right. Well,
like everything's just like.
I will say that they're probably actors and not stuntmen. So they're probably just.
Yeah. But Steve, I mean, they're like practically not touching each other. Like.
It's true,
but whatever.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely.
I will say, like, the neck biting thing, like, was pretty fun. Like, he kills him by like biting the shit out of his like neck, and there's.
It's so random.
So at least there was like a little bit of. It was just like out of nowhere.
Right.
And then doesn't Hook kill somebody here? Like he hooks them to death.
Right. Yeah, that's coming up, and I'll just go ahead and throw it. Well, I'll wait till the end to draw my comparisons to that particular film. And this is a line that I thought was kind of fun, not really delivered the best way by Mengele, but he says, "There's no room for Jesus on the new beach." Like, kind of thought that was a good line. All right, so we're the Samurai Surfers and the Fashion Wave and the Pipeliners all meet up. They finally decide to do something about the surf Nazis. This is where we get the line from the leader of the Pipeliners, where someone finally acknowledges that there was an earthquake, and he's like, the quake changed everything. Like, Adolf's playing on a whole new level, real hardcore. And he gets like this crazed look in his eye, and he's like, he doesn't say, basically he's like, well, we have to be just as bad as them, more or less.
Yeah, he like has like licking a knife or something.
Yeah. And that did happen. Mengele licks the tip of a knife later. And even though the knife's fake, it's still like, I don't know, creepy. So they say they need a plan to stop the Nazis. And then next, we see Hook asking Mengele for a new hook. And so he gives him one. Eleanor shops for weapons at the pawn shop. Yahel already mentioned this scene. She buys a gun, and then the guy says, I can get you grenades. So she buys a grenade, which it's revealed later. I guess all you need is one, right?
Yeah.
Mengele gets info from the skateboarders, and then basically he gets the information that those other gangs have all teamed up, more or less. And then Eleanor prepares for battle with her gun and Bible. Then now we're back with Smeg's mom tucking him in the bed, which is a pretty ridiculous, pretty hilarious scene.
Yeah.
And it's like that classic sort of Saved by the Bell, Ferris Bueller thing where as soon as she walks out the door, he lifts up the sheets to show that he was completely clothed and ready to go out and do something. And somehow, she must really know her kid. As he's going out the window, she stops him. And basically, I don't know why this is here, but Smeg decides he wants to write a letter to Adolf to tell him about,
the upcoming attack?
Right, the gangs. But then the mom stops him,
tell him that.
So he's never been able to deliver it, and that's the last we ever see of Smeg and his mom.
Yeah. But somehow they find out anyways.
Right, they found out from the skateboarders.
Right.
Thus rendering this entire scene pointless.
Yeah. Exactly.
So Adolf and Ava are asleep on the beach for some reason. They can't even keep their eyelids closed or maybe they wanted to show us that they were faking. I don't understand. And the Samurai Surfers attack, but the Surf Nazis are just too tough. They beat them down. And then the Pipeliners look on from their car, like doing nothing, and they say, "Oh, we'll take them at the bunker." Then the Designer Wave, the Zach Morris lookalikes, they get taken out by Hook and Mengele, and that's when he does the, I don't know, he chokes him. Like somehow Hook is able to.
Yeah. Even though he's only got one arm.
Yeah, he
one
uses his
hand,
mouth to grab the end and his other hand to do the other one.
Yeah, like I think it was supposed to be like piano wire, but it wasn't piano wire. But I think that's
right. The classic
like kills him like that.
garrote, I think is what it's called. So, and then I wrote, there's not a drop of blood despite people getting, hooked by the hook and, getting garroted by the piano wire. But anyway, Ava tends to Adolf's wounds. One of the pipeliners pours acid into Brutus's eyes. And I don't know, I think Brutus decided he had enough, so they had to kill him off early or something. So Mengele and Hook still get the upper hand and kill the rest of the pipeliners. And then Adolf comes around and he says, "You're no good to me anymore, Brutus," and kills him with the very harpoon gun that Brutus was playing with earlier. So any comments on any of that stuff, Yahel?
Nope. Everything is. I say no, and then I start a comment.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, these scenes are like these deaths are like pretty lame, very tame, especially for like Troma.
Right.
Like the acid, like he pours like I'm sure it was water on the guy's face, and he just starts screaming and they just add like a sizzling, like a fajita sizzling sound effect.
It's recorded from your local Chili's.
Yeah.
Well, Troma has the movies like they make that, like Lord Coffin makes, like Toxic Avenger and whatnot, and then they have other stuff that they just release, like this movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it was. I was happy that things were happening finally. I was upset at how they were being executed.
Absolutely. So, back on the beach, the surf Nazis sit around the fire, all having beers, I guess, toasting their defense and the destruction of the other surf gangs. Now it's morning at the Nazi bunker, and some grenades roll into the bunker and blow up Hook and Mengele, leaving...
clearly a very plastic toy grenade.
Sure. Leaving Adolf and Ava to take the van. And here's where things get ridiculous. I guess you can hear the motorcycle driving away, and then they have a shot of Eleanor driving Adolf's motorcycle. And then she goes back to the retirement home to get her gun, which, why didn't she have the gun with her to begin with?
I only had enough room for the grenade in the purse, baby, I guess.
She tells the nurse she's got nothing left and it's time for payback. Adolf and Ava follow Eleanor to the retirement home. They try to get her, but when she flashes her gun, they take the motorcycle, and then she takes the van and goes after them. So basically...
such a fucking waste of time.
Like, I mean, I can only imagine they're like... well, what have we got left? Well, we still have time left at the retirement home. We still have our vehicles, so we're just gonna have to make the most of them, I guess. Like recycle. That's what
so they drive from the bunker to the retirement home and then back to like the bunker area or the beach area.
Beach. Yeah, basically. So Adolf and Ava run back to. I mean, I thought it was the oil refinery, but whatever. It's the beach area with all the factories and stuff around it, with Eleanor in hot pursuit. Eleanor, then as she's stalking them throughout this, like I don't know if you want to call it a junkyard or whatever, she's like monologuing. She's like, "Ooh, I burned your boards. That was me." And remember, she goes, "Remember the burning of the boards? That was me. Remember the throwing of the grenade, which happened just 10 minutes ago?" That was me. She doesn't say the 10 minutes part, but it was just like, and then she goes, "Remember me," like, which, I mean, those lines could have been decent if they hadn't have just done the grenade part, which then it's just stupid. So yeah, once again, like, I don't know, sequence problems. I don't know what you want to call it. But anyway, so Adolf and Ava get the brilliant idea to steal some surfboards for some local surfers and take to the water. And then they cut to some fishermen, and I don't know why they had to have these lines to sell it. Well, it's like, I get it. They're fishermen. They own a boat. They don't have to say anything. But the guy's like, "Oh, we're not catching anything around here. Why don't we take the boat out into the water?" And then Eleanor shows up and says, "Today's your lucky day. We're going to go fishing for Nazis," or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So any comment on any of that stuff, Yahel?
I think you summarized it pretty well, man. Like I will say at least like things were happening here. We were getting less, establishing shots.
You're just looking forward to the movie ending at this point, aren't you?
At this point, yes. I actually checked. I literally checked at this point how much was left of the movie.
Well, I wanted to know what you thought of it, and I think I'm getting the picture. But basically what we have here is a chase on the water. Not nearly as good as the boat chase in James Bond Live and Let Die. It's a boat chasing people who are just paddling on surfboards. They immediately run over Ava, severing her head from her body. And
that was a fun little scene, actually. And her severed head, that they show it floating, and it actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, they did a decent job with that. Adolf throws a knife that takes out the boat captain or pilot, whatever you want to call him, and then I guess Eleanor just takes over. I mean, anyone can drive a boat. I mean, why didn't they just have her driving it to begin with? Like, I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know either.
Eleanor shoots at Adolf, and I guess it hits him despite the fact that there's no squib or blood or anything. He falls off his board, and then I guess Eleanor sort of stops the boat, and she's looking around, and somehow, without making a single sound or peep, Adolf appears from behind her in what's supposed to be like a shocking sort of final, I guess, attempt to kill someone like you would see in like a Jason movie.
Like a horror movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Eleanor just grabs him by the neck and shoves the gun right into his mouth and says, taste some of Eleanor's biscuits or something along those lines.
Yeah, it says something like, taste some of Mama Washington's like cooking.
Yeah. Which isn't a bad line. It was just the whole scene was executed so poorly and like stupidly that it just doesn't really have but hey, she got her revenge. Good for her.
She shoots him. Blood finally, we see a little bit of blood like come out of his mouth.
And
it was handled like again, I do think like the decapitation scene was pretty cool, and even like this with the shooting him in the mouth was handled fairly well.
So do you think that this was a decent enough like sort of finale / third act?
Third act, no. I do think like killing the way that they decapitated her and like shooting him in the mouth like that with her like getting like to like her like final like line on him.
Right.
Yeah, I thought like that stuff was fine and that was good. It was so awkward getting there.
Right. Yeah.
And the scenes preceding.
Yeah,
it.
the fact that they just got on boards and started paddling, like, I mean, that's pretty dumb. Pretty dumb. But
and the going, and even before that, the driving to the retirement home and stuff, like they should have cut that out and just gone straight to this beach scene.
Well, I mean, this movie, as we said, it's not about pacing, it's about padding that runtime, baby. Like if you don't hit, I don't know, I think it has to be like over 50 minutes to be classified as a feature film or something. Like,
I see, I didn't know that.
And if you don't hit that, then how are you going to sell it? How are you going to sell your film and make your money back? Anyway, that's pretty much the movie, except for Eleanor drives off into the horizon, cackling to herself on Adolf's bike. And that, ladies and gentlemen, and children of the jury, that is Surf Nazis.
Children of the jury.
Yes, that is Surf Nazis.
We should start putting children on juries.
I mean, I certainly hope there aren't any kids listening to this show, but who cares? They got to learn about Surf Nazis must die someday. Yeah. So are you, it sounds like you're ready to render your verdict, Mr. Velazquez. Are you?
I'm ready.
All right.
I'm ready
so here we go.
That's the question.
All right. So Agent Surfboard Velazquez, Do you think that Surf Nazis Must Die should be remembered for all of human history, or tossed into the black hole of obscurity, never to be heard from again?
Oh, please toss this into the black hole of obscurity, Steve. This is I'm not saying this to be to exaggerate or be funny or whatever. This is legitimately one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. And had I not had to watch it for this podcast, I would have stopped about 10 minutes into it, maybe even sooner. It's terrible. The dialogue is shit. The editing is worse somehow. The only good thing I can really say for this movie is the music is pretty cool in a lot of spots. But I would rather be deaf than watch this movie again.
I'm waiting for.
This is maybe like in my top 3 worst movies I've ever seen.
Wow. Damn.
Yeah.
I meant to call. I felt a lot of parallels between this and Brain Jacked, at least in the way the third act plays out. Because remember Brain Jacked, right?
Yeah, it was way better than this. And it's not good.
Right. But just in the fact that, things kind of peter out in the third act. And then they never, when people went around and like strangling people because they didn't want to bother to choreograph a fight or have any blood or anything, that some of those tactics are obviously in
some of those vibes.
Yeah. But I would definitely say that Brain Jacked is a more competent film. I don't know, but as for my verdict, it's tough. Like there's a lot of problems here, but man, that's a good soundtrack. And and I really do like the surf footage and some of the choices with the cinematography. I can't imagine a world without Surf Nazis Must Die. So I'm going to have to say save it, which means, and I think this movie deserves a stalemate. You probably think it deserves to be obliterated, don't you?
This is, yes. I may quit the podcast. I'm just kidding.
All right, here we go.
Just in, those pathetic podcasters known as Obscurity Now have once again rendered a verdict of no contest. That's right, a stalemate. They've wasted everyone's time. They are just as lazy as Congress and twice as corrupt. Boo, I say, tar and feather 'em. Get out the guillotine. Boo to stalemate, and boo to Obscurity Now.
The old stalemate bumper. Haven't seen it in a while. Well,
Yeah.
We had a string of saves for a while there. Well, the straight is over. Thanks to Surf Nazis Must Die. I have a quick question. All right, switching gears completely. Have you seen the new Spider-Man by any chance?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Just yesterday, I was actually thinking about seeing if it's available for rent yet.
Oh, it isn't.
I know it's really good. It's pretty good, Steve. Steve, you think Surf Nazis Must Die should be saved, so I don't know if I can trust your opinion right now on anything.
Wow. Ouch. That hurt. Well, you know what? I'll just wait for you to see it, and then we'll have a frank and quick discussion on a future episode, which I figured out what we're going to watch next week, if you're good with it. What do you think about, it's not Street Shark, Tiger Sharks. You remember that cartoon?
I don't, but can't be worse than this.
Basically, you got your Silverhawks, you got your Thundercats, and then you've got your Tiger Sharks because they live.
Yeah, I'm down. We haven't done a cartoon.
It's been a while.
In a minute,
so that sounds good to me. Everything good going on at Wrestling with Gaming?
Yeah. My script on the Game Boy itself is coming along. It's a little more slowly than I wanted to, but just been working a lot at my real job, unfortunately, and I'm just like not in the mood to be in front of a computer after being in front of a computer all day there. So, but it's coming along, man.
Nice.
How about you, man? How's the Kickstarter pre-launch is out, right, for your comic book?
Yes, that is correct. The link will be in the show notes for sure. I got all the pages in colored. Now I'm just lettering them, and I do have I think I mentioned it last time, The variant cover will be coming in at the end of April, which means the actual launch will be on May. So everybody just
Nice.
Yeah, looking forward to it. But anyway, I think that's gonna do it for this episode. Anything else to add, Yahel? Anything else at all?
I really can't. I can, whatever the opposite of recommending a movie is, I cannot do it enough when it comes to Surf Nazis. It is terrible. People not even if you're curious about it. Like, it's not worth it.
No.
We'll
It's
never get
worth
this time
checking
back.
out.
It is not worth checking out. Steve is a liar. He is a con man.
If you
A charlatan.
Flim flam man. If you like electronic scores and surf footage, then I would recommend Surf Nazis Must Die.
Okay. If you like an electronic score and surf footage, get the soundtrack for the film and go like put it on while you watch some like HD surf footage.
While you watch Point Break.
Where you don't have to stare at where you don't have to like stare at a swastika the whole time too. While you're,
actually, that's hard to argue with. But
yeah, soundtrack is good. Download it, buy it, whatever. The movie, no.
Yeah, this is definitely. I'll say this is a case where the soundtrack is better than the movie. But
I honestly cannot remember last time I hated a movie. Oh yes, I can. It was when I saw Ronin, starring one Robert De Niro in movie theaters. And I like wanted to leave so bad. That movie's terrible.
I mean,
there's awful dialogue.
I don't think I've seen it all the way through. I just never knew it was so bad one way or the other.
There's one scene that like I remember like Robert De Niro's character is talking to the guy from The Specialist. I don't know the actor's name, but I know you know who I'm talking about. And
Eric Roberts.
Like they're getting ready to like shoot somebody, or snipe somebody, something like that. And one of them asked the other guy, the specialist guy asked Robert De Niro, "What do you want for Christmas?" And out of nowhere, this question gets asked, and Robert De Niro says, "My 2 front teeth." I'm just like, what the fuck is this dialogue? It has nothing to do with anything.
Did he punch out the guy's front teeth?
No, everybody has beautiful full sets of teeth in this movie, Steve.
Well, that's really weird indeed.
And that is emblematic of that whole movie. Like there's the dialogue is just crap. There's like a 20-minute like chase scene. It's talking about padding the time like a car chase scene. And anyways, I hated that movie, but this movie I hate even more. I'd rather watch Ronin twice than watch Surf Nazis one more time.
But Ronin had a budget though, and these guys were doing the best they can on a shoestring.
But you know what, Steve? It doesn't cost any money to like write a good script.
You're absolutely right. Well, why do so many movies today that use millions and millions of dollars to make it, why do their scripts still suck?
Because it is also hard to write a good script.
Oh, I know that, brother. I know that. All right. Well, if you joined our live chat, thank you. And we'll see everybody next week. Same obscure time, same obscure channel as we continue to discuss even more obscure media. See you next time.
You've been enjoying Obscurity Now, a podcast that's recorded live to tape and streamed to Twitch and YouTube. Subscribe so you never miss an episode or hilarious quip. Take us with you by following the download links provided in the show notes to wherever you get podcasts. And take notice of our various social media links. If that's what you're into, I'm not here to judge. And make sure you join us live next week at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific as we continue to discuss more obscure media only on Obscurity Now.